Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another live stream. Just make sure everything's up and running. And here we are. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for waiting. I see some Barbara saying I'm 3 minutes late. Give the man a break. But someone else saying he's late 3 minutes, doc. Half an hour of his pay. Disciplinary action. Yeah, I need disciplinary action now. Look. Okay. I gave you 2 videos before. Okay, that's a total of 10, 11 minutes. Forget about the hours of work. Okay, let's not consider the hours of work, day and night. I think you can cut me some slack, maybe. Just kidding. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. And welcome to the members, the subscribers, and moderators, everyone. Like I said, I posted a couple of videos earlier on. Oh, by the way, someone was saying he was brewing his tea. Indeed, I was brewing my tea. Indian tea today. With cardamom, cinnamon, and honey. Very healthy and very good. And welcome, everyone. Greeting. So, obviously the live stream for anyone new, just to kind of open the space up for all of you to chat and talk, share your thoughts, and obviously direct anything for me if you want. Any comments, any views or questions as well. I posted 2 videos earlier on. One of them was about the level of fierce resistance from the Palestinian resistance against the murderers of children, against the child murdering forces, against the forces of the satanic death cult, committing a genocide for over 6 months. And they've been very heavy attacks. And they're not doing anything, these people. That's how you dismantle Hamas brigades. You'll dismantle your state before you dismantle a brigade from Hamas. We dismantled 1820. You will dismantle all of Israel, and it's dismantling now. You have the Galilee, they want independence. Army, you have 2 armies. Society split like never before. Almost half of your population left. Political split. Yeah. You're dismantling Israel before you dismantle Hamas. Or the Palestinian resistance, or the Palestinian people. Really. What are you talking about? And now they're getting more humiliation and more of a beating in Gaza. Minefields. Buildings. Trapped buildings. Yasin 105. Snipers. That's what happens when you want to invade Rafah. They told you we're not going to be waiting with flowers. What did you expect? What did you expect? Going against everyone, and that's what you get. Then I posted another video about the unconditional love between Britain and Israel. What is this unconditional love? Even if the whole world, even general Israeli allies, historical Israeli allies, starting to ban arms, US even, the biggest sponsor, the enabler. No. Britain, no. Clown Cameron, he said, no, we won't halt the arms sales. You won't. He probably needs more evidence. I call it the genocide generosity, or the generosity for genocide. You know, you have so much generosity coming from these enlightened democracies, the beacons of democracy towards this wonderful state of Israel. You know, we need more assurances that you're abiding by international law. You know, we're a bit concerned about the civilian casualties. You know, we must ensure that the Gazans have a cup of water to drink each a day. Genocide generosity. So generous with them. And they're expelling this poor Palestinian student from Gaza. What's her name? Dana Abu Qamar. Last year studying law in Britain. At least 15 members of her family massacred during this genocide. But she protests. She protests. And she says the Palestinians have a right to resist. Oh my God. How could you do that, Dana? You're a threat to our security. You must go home. Now they're expelling her. The Home Office, they want to expel her. She's going through a legal challenge with them now. Yeah, that's the world we live in. That's the world we live in. But tonight, what I want to talk to you about is the Lebanese front. You know, you had these anti-Hezbollah, anti-Iran, anti-everything to do with the resistance movements. Everything is an act. Hezbollah is not doing anything. Iran coordinated that. It reached a level where the Galilee wants to split from Israel. Who did that? Your keyboard warrior leaders? Who did it? Your comments? Who? Hezbollah did that. With very limited activity, by the way. Very limited. They expelled over 80,000 squatters. And they destroyed in certain areas over than 70-80% of towns that were used by the Israeli army, because where the people left, the residents, squatters, the army came in, they took their houses. So Hezbollah is monitoring them. They see them. Exceptional intelligence, this Hezbollah. I wonder how they get their intel. It's as if you have people in the Israeli army working for them. They'll send a suicide drone to a middle of nowhere and it'll go in a room and explode within a command unit and take all of them down. Interesting. And now Israel is flexing muscles. They're flexing muscles in near the borders of Lebanon. Firstly, Hezbollah literally burned down Kiryat Shmoni today. I'm not sure if you heard of that or not. Approximately 24 missiles. The Satanic Death Cult said that they intercepted 16 of these missiles with their nylon dome. They probably intercepted a couple, but whatever landed caused a lot of fire. That's all I can tell you. It was burning. It was burning, fire everywhere. But the Israeli army is conducting their biggest drills in a while on the borders of Lebanon. On the borders of Lebanon. So today we had a report from Israel. Report from Israel. What did the report say? Reservists from Atzioni Brigade participated in military drills in Western Galilee that resembled combat in Lebanon. Armed forces, engineering corps, and infantry trained on practical coordination in mountainous areas using fighting and camouflage techniques. Similarly, Division 91 had drills to accelerate preparedness to attack on this front. Hiram military formation practices, supplying forces with munition and equipment by air in enemy territories. They conducted practices to also supply in case of an all-out war. They're preparing for an all-out war with Lebanon. It's not enough for them to sink in the sands of Gaza. They want to be eaten alive by the mountains of Lebanon. Didn't you learn your lesson in 2006? Didn't you learn your lesson in 2000? What's wrong with these people? Also, another thing that I wanted to talk to you about, and obviously I'll get to your comments. There's this research group in Israel. They're solely focused on Hezbollah. They're solely focused on Hezbollah. Alma Center. I think I spoke to you about them previously. They claim to be solely focused on Hezbollah. They're always up in the north, monitoring the hills and everything. They said Hezbollah is prepared and ready for war at any time in the immediate term and is not afraid of it. Of course they're not afraid. What was that news? They're not afraid of it. According to Tal Be'eri, head of the research department of the Alma Center for the Study of Security and Challenges in the North, at a conference held yesterday, Thursday, in Kibbutz Lohamei Hagitaot, attended by military attaches from around the world, representatives of embassies and foreign journalists. Alongside senior military personnel in the Army Reserves, the research center staff presented their assessment of the challenges of the war on the Northern Front and Iran. These military attaches and representatives of embassies and foreign journalists and senior military personnel and in the army, if they're outside, obviously, anyone outside of Israel, right, they should have gone to Lebanon so that Hezbollah can teach them, not Israel. What are you going to learn from Israel? It's a failed army, failed state, pariah state. What are you going to learn from them? How to kill babies and women, how to abuse 7-year-olds in the streets, how to put women's bras in Gaza or steal bicycles of babies who were murdered. What are you going to do? Go to Lebanon, learn from Hezbollah. Go to Lebanon, learn from Hezbollah. What are you learning from Israel? They have nothing to teach you. You already share the same type of supremacist mentality. Look for something new. Open your locked up brains a little bit. The situation provided by Be'eri during a discussion at a session examining the Shiite terrorist organization, right? The Shiite terrorist organization. They love these things. Terrorist, astaghfirullah. We all know who the terrorist is. And apologies in advance, this is not my terminology. Talk about the honorable resistance. And they're the mother of terrorism. They were founded on terrorism, on genocide, on mass expulsion, like those who support them. Like those who support them. Countries that support them. They committed mass genocides. Like I said previously, I mean, what Israel is doing in Gaza now, we're almost at 35,000 martyrs in Gaza, innocent civilians, women and children. That's nothing compared to what Britain and the US and France did alongside other ex-colonies, right? Across the world. Nothing. They look at Israel as if it's a joke. Oh, 35,000. We did that in a day before. What did they say as well? Okay, so far the IDF has not harmed Hezbollah's significant systems. La, seriously. So far the IDF has not harmed Hezbollah's significant systems. Seriously. Wow, that's also new. Is that a research center or what is this exactly? I mean, you're giving us knowledge, that we already know. Of course you didn't affect anything. You're being whipped by them. Even if the government tries to bring about a diplomatic agreement, it will only postpone the war that breaks out as soon as Hezbollah wants and on its own terms. In my estimation, at the latest, within years, until the end of 2026. Okay. All right. End of 2026. Okay. In his review, Barr presented security challenges facing Hezbollah and the picture of its forces and the arsenal of munitions that it continues to develop today. They're worried. The main problem is Hezbollah's precision project, he said. He explained that the Iranian-backed organization, I'm going to skip the T word. I can't say it, come on. It's the limit. Iranian-backed. Why not? Have a range of 350 kilometers and radius of up to 10 meters, but it's upgrading its arsenal of old missiles manufactured in Iran in the 80s and called destroyers. At the conversion plant, precision systems are installed on them that can also hit targets at a distance of up to 125 kilometers. Instead of hundreds of rockets and precision missiles and precision ammunition, Hezbollah now has thousands. This is out of an arsenal of approximately 250,000 weapons. In many cases, these missiles will be launched from underground camouflage launch shafts. He also said that it was impossible to rule out the possibility that Hezbollah would also use chemical weapons against the maneuvering military forces. In light of reports in Israel about the withdrawal of fighters from Hezbollah's elite unit, the Radwan force, who were stationed on the northern border until the 7th of October, and the attack attributed to Israel on about 9 senior commanders of the special force, Barry said, "We estimate that the Radwan force, if it wishes, can still operationally implement an invasion plan to the north, which will be smaller with a force of about 100 to 200 operatives and a smaller area than what was prepared before the Hamas attack. This is because it has lost the surprise effect of infiltration and attempts to conquer communities with the participation of thousands of skilled fighters, a plan he conceived over a decade ago and adopted by Hamas." That's rubbish. They can still surprise them on what they're talking about. But it's important to know what they're saying. Alma believes that the competence of the Radwan force was also not harmed in the IDF's elimination forces, since it operates in command continuity, and in order to harm its capabilities, more significant actions are required. Radwan still poses a clear and present challenge and danger in the context of any invasion of Israeli territory, Barry said. And they don't want an agreement as well. They said an agreement will only buy time. So what are they suggesting? We need a full-scale war. We need a full-scale war. Against the background of the ongoing war in the south and the policy of the government and the IDF in conducting a limited and secondary campaign in the north under titles such as defensive battle and lethal defense, Be'eri warns that Hezbollah engages in intensive learning and draws lessons from the IDF's fighting in the tunnels, I'm not going to say that word again, in the Gaza Strip, and applies it in the land of tunnels already familiar to us from the Second Lebanon War in 2006. The tunnels were dug with Iranian and North Korean funding and guidance. Hezbollah in Lebanon has tunnels that cross areas into southern Lebanon and beyond the Litani River, and they are intended for the transfer of forces, vehicles, and more, he said. It has, among other things, tactical and offensive tunnels inside villages near border, booby-trap tunnels designed to explode under villages and forces, and tunnels for launching missiles at Israel. They're practicing self-defense. What's so surprising for you? Your country is a neo-colonialist expansionist project. People have to defend themselves from you. Can you sense the entitlement in their language? Oh no, they're preparing. For who? For your genocidal faces. That's what they're preparing for. They know you. While the United States and France exert very heavy pressure on Israel not to launch a military campaign against Hezbollah and to force the government to reach an agreement to remove fighters and their means from the border, researchers at the Galilee Institute estimate that Hezbollah will seek to increase its fire in the shadow of efforts to achieve a lull in order to achieve a victory picture. The only one looking for a victory picture is you, and you're not able to obtain it. That's why you post TikTok videos with your ignorant, stupid, child-murdering forces with bras on them. No political or diplomatic agreement will prevent Hezbollah from continuing to operate. Be'eri warned. Any such agreement means buying time, with the only party fulfilling its part of the agreement being the Israelis, while Hezbollah will wait for the right time for a full confrontation. That's how it should be. Israel should be put in its place. It's the genocidal state. It should be dismantled. You need to dismantle this supremacy. And Hezbollah need to have their upper hand. What are we talking about? Like the Palestinian resistance. As a matter of fact, there must be more leverage. More intimidation. With any country, any group that's been attacked at any point by Israel. Way more. Like I said before, Israel's opponents, they need to be capable of doing to parts of Israel what Israel did to Gaza. Maybe then there'll be some sort of deterrence. So if one of those resistance movements or countries had the capacity to level parts of Tel Aviv or whichever part of Israel, like they level Gaza and like they leveled parts of Beirut previously, then we probably wouldn't have a problem. Israel would be deterred because it knows what's coming. But they're obviously the spoiled little brat of the neighborhood, entitled little bee-child of genocidal states, sitting there, typical arrogance and, sense of entitlement. Later, in dealing with the challenge of the war against Hezbollah, Major General Reservist Gershon HaKohen, former commander of the Northern Corps, presented the strategy of the organization. Why did Iran and Hezbollah declare war on Israel? Asked HaKohen. He explained, it is impossible to answer the question without addressing the religious aspect. Ooh, talk about religion. Who was quoting Amalek? Religion, God's promised land, God's chosen, who don't know what to describe them as. Hezbollah is driven by jihad, in which God is part of the decision-making process. They're faithful people, undeniably. The believer can make the impossible possible and practice al-muqawama. Wow, now they started using Arab terminology. Means that they know something. Okay. According to him, the meaning of belief in Islamic redemption for Hezbollah and Iranian Supreme Leader Khamenei is that one day he will be able to pray at Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. And everything else is a pretext to fight until the destruction of Israel. Yeah, every Muslim should be allowed to pray in Al-Aqsa. Of course, including the Iranian Supreme Leader. You're occupying it. Third holiest site in Islam. Ali Khamenei has the right to pray in Al-Aqsa. You're preventing him. That's religious discrimination. How can you prevent someone Muslim from praying Al-Aqsa? Iran or not Iran? That's religious discrimination, Israel. Come on. The conference was concluded by Lieutenant Colonel Reservist Sarit Zahavi, former senior intelligence officer, president and founder of the Alma Center, and member of the Dvorah Forum. In the end, we will have to reach a political settlement in Lebanon. We will have to reach, political settlement. As if you have another option. What, are you going to go full-scale war to commit an even quicker suicide? Whether we like it or not with Hezbollah. Okay. The question is, what will it look like? In order to answer this question, we need to look at an earlier arrangement. Security Council Resolution 1701. There is no enforcement authority, there is no mandate for enforcement, and there is a nice wording regarding disarmament. 17 years have passed and it has not progressed, and the decision has never been implemented. Exactly like all of the UN resolutions regarding your state. There are UN resolutions, ink on paper, have a Palestinian state, ink on paper. There are also resolutions to get the refugees back, ink on paper. There are also resolutions that support the Palestinian resistance, ink on paper. What, do you want to implement it on the opposite side and not on you? Look at the entitlement. What arrogant people. As international actors exert pressure on a return to the 2006 settlement, Zahavi said that it was no longer necessary to rely on a failed agreement. The order must be based on Resolution 1559, which calls for the disarmament of all militias. Disarmament of all militias. No, the disarmament of a genocidal state is more important than the disarmament of militias or resistance movement. You see, because they exist for a reason. Why are they there? Why are they there? Why is the resistance there? Think about it. And they continued. Let me just continue for you in a sec. They continued. This resolution was adopted in 2004 and is not related to Israel at all. She shared with the conference participants her big nightmare that is shared by many. My nightmare as a resident of the North is a ceasefire that takes us back to October the 6th. The Americans have a ticking clock for the end of the war, their elections. We have a ticking clock for the end of the war, the beginning of the next school year. What is the clock for the Iranians? No one knows. Zahavi believes that military achievements, a powerful offensive activity, which will not lead to an all-out war, are the most optimistic option for ending the Hezbollah attack on the northern settlements that were abandoned by their inhabitants and for creating the security opportunity for their return home. On the other hand, the political agreement is the pessimistic and dangerous scenario in her eyes. In any case, the initiative for the next massacre must not be left to the hands of Hezbollah, so that it decides when and how the campaign it plans to conquer the Galilee will look like. She said, we need to deprive them of the ability to carry it out and at the same time be ready to defend the settlements in the event of an attempted ground invasion. It is important that we remember the law of Metula is the law of Jerusalem. Metula is a small town next to the Lebanese borders. So she's saying needs to be treated the same as Jerusalem. Basically calling for Israel to go on an all-out war. Delusions. These people are completely blind, really. And it's very likely. I mean, in the video that I spoke about yesterday, the article about the Galilee splitting from Israel and declaring independence on Independence Day, which is in a few days' time, they said one of the main problems they had is the fact that Netanyahu ridiculed a comment or didn't take it seriously that people should go back to schools on the 1st of September. So he said when it was mentioned that, we need to have everything finished by the 1st of September, he said, and what's the problem if there's a delay of a few months? Careless about that. That's 3 months away. Now, the previous war with Lebanon lasted a month. Now, this is Israel's longest ongoing fierce war, although some people are saying now that what they've been engaged in the past few months before the ground invasion of Rafah was fighting, not a war. Which we can potentially agree on, because the intensity was less. And there was this semi-ceasefire that they had with the reduction of forces, with the withdrawal of 95% of their forces from Gaza. You could call it fighting. But it's ongoing, and the intensity and everything related to it politically, on a societal level, economically, Israel's economy is doing awfully now. Very bad. And it looks like from the drills that we're seeing, from these reports, this research center solely focused on Hezbollah, they're definitely looking for an all-out war. Gallant saying it's going to be a hot summer. Previously saying we have two separate wars, we're not treating them the same. Even if we have a ceasefire with Gaza, Lebanon is treated differently. Question is, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? We'll wait and see. Let me open the space up for you. Jack Ayub saying, Brother Mahmoud, I'm a little under the weather. I don't have COVID. I have the Zionist virus. My white blood cells are starting to work. Oh, bless you, brother. I hope you get well soon. I would recommend a couple of pills of resistance. A couple of pills of Palestinian resistance would help the virus. If it's too bad, take the Iranian antibiotics. Ansarullah saying, Mahmoud, is there any hope for Gaza to still get supplies now that IDF took Rafah? The Palestinians are going to starve the siege, like the siege of Leningrad. Any hope here? Look, with regards to starvation, it's one of the worst starvations. 5, 6, 7-year-olds drowning to death trying to look for a bite. That's starvation. It's a stamp of shame on any single person supporting this and has his lips zipped, right? However, with regards to supply, like if you're talking about arms, firstly, you're still getting some aid in. That's number one. Secondly, if you're talking about the tunnel systems of Hamas, it's not like they start and end in Rafah. Sometimes they'll be like 40 kilometers in Gaza from somewhere. So it's not like they begin and end there, or they're just a kilometer in length. So they could start from one part of Egypt or wherever and be in, I don't know, Shuja'iyya, for example, or Gaza City, in the heart of Gaza, or in one of those other. And it's a very sophisticated, I don't think it's going to be affected. It hasn't been affected for 6 months. They showed that they have supply. They constantly produce. So there's no problem with that. Juror number 6 saying, did you read the latest article by Diana Bhutto about being Palestinian living in Israel? No, I haven't. I haven't. I'll have a look. Is it a diary of a Palestinian living in Israel? Yeah, I can have a look at it. I haven't really seen it, but thanks for bringing it to my attention. Irene Z saying it's absolutely sick that Abbas asked is not real not to release Marwan al-Barghouthi. Mahmoud Abbas wanted to go back to Gaza on Israeli tanks in 2008. Now he has his forces trying to take control of the Rafah crossing. What do you explain that? He's a little doormat. He's a little puppet to the Zionists. Bootlicker. That's what he is. So no one should be surprised by the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank. They're little slaves. He once said he was invited to a conference in relation to Palestine. Then an Arab leader, I'm not sure if it's the Qatari leader at the time, he leaked some information. He said Mahmoud Abbas is not here. Why? Because he said if I come, they will shoot me. Psst. What kind of a president is that? What kind of a president is that? If I come in, they'll shoot me. Is that a president? Talal Mansour, do you think America will come to the rescue in case of a full-scale war with Hizb? No, I don't think so. Why would they come? Plus, which ignorant fool will come and fight for Netanyahu? I mean, you really need to be so bloody ignorant or so bloody racist like them to go and fight for Netanyahu, a man that many Israelis aren't willing to fight for. Probably half. People fleeing the army in Israel. What, do you want Americans to come and fight? Imagine that. Who would come? I don't think they will. If they haven't intervened with Iran, come on, and they just helped them intercept a couple of missiles, don't think they're gonna intercept with Lebanon. Zach is saying the Council of Spanish Universities announced they will begin to divest all public and private universities from Israel and cutting all academic ties. You should have a complete boycott, way more aggressive than what you've done with South Africa, and support the opposing side. That's what you should do. That's what really should be done. But many people, many powers are insisting on being on the wrong side of history until forever. Until they're met with the force that they exert on others. Till they met with the force they apply on other less equipped nations. Or a level of it. Look, they're incapable with Ansarullah in Yemen. They formed the genocide coalition to support a genocidal state. Against who? Against a country that was looking to impose a blockade and actively is on a genocidal state committing crimes against humanity as defined by international law, confirmed by the ICJ. Shows you who's the outlaw. That's why we call them the Genocide Coalition. And even with that, with the Genocide Coalition, have you heard of any recent activity from them? Has anyone heard what the US and Britain have been doing lately? I didn't hear much. I'm not hearing a lot. What's happening? What did they decide to take a dive somewhere or go on a yacht or something? Spend the weekend with the MBS? What are they doing? Clearly they knew nothing's going to stop these people. Tashikoma. Why is this illegal state so hell-bent on linking everything on Iran? Did something happen before this? They need to have a scarecrow. They need to have a scarecrow. Iran in the region instead of Israel, and some fools in the Arab and Muslim world buy it. Then you have Hamas, right? As if they're fighting Hamas. And it's as if Hamas is as they describe it to be, right? Spinning and lying about Hamas. And they're the good democracy. And they're the enlightened little Western democracy amidst dictatorships and backwardness. So they need to have something scary. Oh no, it's Iran, it's Iran, it's Iran. And some people lose sight and fall for it. And then again, do you have to agree with everything with Iran? No. You don't. Of course you don't. But there's priorities. There's strategic vision. But not many people have strategic vision. Oh, Nazi Sally saying, Mahmoud, did you see the Hamas wasps that got the soldiers? Yeah, apparently 12 soldiers were wounded due to wasp bites in Gaza. That's real. That's serious. But here's the joke. They were Hamas wasps. So one of the guys, he had a very good lens. I took a picture. He zoomed in so much, and then he saw one of the wasps wearing a tie like this. It says Al-Qassam Brigade. I didn't know they were that sophisticated, Hamas. They could train wasps. And they sent them to bite Israeli soldiers. Others were seen with kufiyas around their neck. The wasps. Yeah, anti-Semitic wasps. Oh my God, that's a good laugh. But yeah, you did have some. You had the wasps, you had this rash that they had. And apparently some of them died from viruses that couldn't be treated with antibiotics, by the way. No immunity. And then they had this bug that was killing them. Yeah, you have you have certain paranormal assistants, to say the least. J Artist is asking, do you condemn the wasps? No, look, I seriously believe they have a right to defend themselves. I mean, Israel is the aggressor at the end of the day, so, and I believe wasps defending themselves is a legit thing. Crooklyn K, what paper did the Israeli ambassador shred at the UN? He tried to send this message and he ended up the ignorant, racist, abhorrent fool. He ended up sending another message. So he was like, because you're accepting Palestine now, more of you're accepting Palestine as a state, calling it a terrorist state. You're basically shredding your own charter, right? And then he ended up looking like a fool. Not as if Gilad Erdan needs to make an attempt to look like a fool. I mean, he doesn't have to put that much of an effort to look like a fool. But it's like they're insisting. It's like these Netanyahu clips from a few years back when he was pouring this water and sending a message to the Iranian people, we can help you with water. Telling them, or holding a football and bizarre stuff. I don't know what kind of marketing advice they have, these people. Ridiculous stuff. And I hope that elaborates from Talal's question, calling it shameful. You were threatening the other day to leave the UN because you don't want to comply with anything. You don't want to be even challenged. Get the hell out of the UN, this whole organization. What has it done anyway? Everything is ink on paper, legitimizing crimes 24/7. What are they doing? Real Sheikha Pia, thank you so much. You asked, how safe do you think it is to stay in Nirvana, South Sinai? Shall I leave or will Sinai be safe? Look, there is no signal that now it's about to extend immediately to Sinai, but Israel is stepping on the line that Egypt warned it about, right? Egypt told them, don't come here, not the Philadelphia corridor, Philadelphia line. And they went still. Okay, they're in the eastern part. They probably promised them limited campaign or what have you. But you don't know how quickly things can escalate. That's all I can say. Like no one anticipated, including me, right? I did not anticipate, although I'm observing like everything since the beginning of this. I did not think that Iran would attack Israel, seriously. It didn't come across my mind. I didn't think they would retaliate directly. Why should they? They've never done it before. They have the capability to conduct the same activity from other areas. Why would they want to do that? But they decided to do it. And it was an unprecedented attack. Now, with Sinai, it would be a case of Israel stepping another one step, one more wrong step, and then you don't know what Egypt can do. You really don't. Because Egypt, like we didn't really know exactly that Iran would take this action, we don't know what to expect from Egypt. Well, they're diplomatic, they're this, and they try and resolve everything, and they have a relation with the US and strategic. I know all of that. I know that. But you don't know what to expect if Israel sets its foot on Egyptian territory. And you're faced with a government in Israel that so far broke almost every sacred pact with the US. There was always an underlying understanding and comprehension with every previous Israeli prime minister that if the United States, if the US president says no to something, a harsh no, then no, take a step back. Let me give you an example. To a level where it was believed, including in Israel, after a committee was formed to investigate the 2006 failure with Hezbollah. It was believed and reported that the Israeli army was following US orders to the T in Lebanon. And many soldiers at the time reported that they were confused with regards to orders. They will receive one order one day, then they will do something else. It could be that they're really mismanaged or unprofessional. Okay, that does happen. But there were reports linking it to the US, and the US using that war as also leverage against Iran at the time, because it was during the invasion of Iraq and Iran was establishing itself in Iraq too. So you don't know what could happen really, but it's a tense area to say the least. So be safe if you're there. Juror number 6 is asking, can the US veto the UN decision? I don't think they can veto this decision particularly, because you're not talking about the Security Council. They usually veto things that are raised with the Security Council. I mean, unless I'm wrong, really, let me just double check. Usually everything they veto is related to the Security Council calling for a ceasefire, for example. Well, okay, that's the score. The score is membership can only be decided upon by the UN Security Council, so they can veto. The US recently vetoed a bid for full membership, but Friday's vote can be seen as a gesture of support for the Palestinians. There we go. Yeah, they can veto it. And a gesture of support. A gesture of support. How kind of you. Abdul Haq is saying, do you agree with me that Nafil Hajj and Umrah and visits to Saudi should be avoided because of Saudi's complicity with the Zionists? Look, that's something that I believe every person should take that decision based on their convictions, you know. Hajj, Umrah are religious obligations. So, you know, you're obliged to do it if you can. Man istata'a ilayhi sabila, those who have been able to do it, obviously, because there's excuses to certain things. But that's not something that I believe anyone can say, oh, you should or you really shouldn't. Like, I have my own reservations about the security measures, about the Hajj, the way that it's formed, the time scale of it, and many things that contradict how Hajj is performed Islamically. But obviously, when you talk about Hajj, that's up to a person to make that decision, whether they view it as, you know, obviously it's an obligation, it's undeniable that it's an obligation, and that you need to do it if you can. But then, you know, many people share your view, by the way, and many people shared this view from a very long time ago. A very, very long time ago. But then again, it's not something that you can say everyone who thinks that way is right and everyone who thinks that way is wrong. And the same argument really applies to Al-Aqsa. Like, And that includes Palestinians, by the way. Like the Palestinians are split. Is it okay to visit Al-Aqsa under Israeli occupation, or is it not? Am I legitimizing their occupation of it if I visit or not? It's really about this personal, it's a very personal thing. It's about how you actually feel with it. Are you okay to go under occupation and visit it? And if you do, does that mean you admit that they're right? You know, there's so many sides to it. Like, do I have to fully agree with the government that I'm in to live in a country or to visit it? Not necessarily. So I think that's a place where people should, you know, give each other space for having their own kind of ideas on it and thoughts. Oh, Jack Ayub, you're welcome. You said they got you laughing. You took the resistance pills. That's great. That's great, brother Jack Ayub. I hope you feel better. Like I said, if it persists, go to your doctor, ask him for a prescription for Iranian antibiotics. That should eliminate that should eliminate the problem. Tashikom is saying, what happened with the ceasefire deal now that the bluff is exposed? Look, Hamas didn't say that they're completely going to cut it out, but it's stopped now. It's stopped so far. Daniela Modus Cutter, thank you so much for your super thanks. And R. Christie, thank you so much for your super thanks. R. Christie saying, greetings, Mahmoud, and community question. Turkey was known to sell tank shells to Israel. Are they to be trusted? I don't trust any of those governments. If you ask me, I have no full trust in any of them. With Turkey, you know, they've just recently said they're having this trade ban with Israel. When? Okay, like I said, any step forward is good, but when did they do it? 7 months in? The right thing to do is to prevent it from the beginning. That's number one. Apply enough pressure on this genocidal state that you know they have a history of genocide. But let's say you were naive or something, or you made a mistake. You saw them, what they're doing in the first few days. Immediately apply pressure. Immediately. Take your biggest threat out of the pocket. Or whatever. You have to. Stephen Burrows, what happened with the flotilla? They still haven't got the full confirmation and okay to leave. And Talal, you're welcome, by the way. Also, Talal is asking, do you think MPS will secure a peace deal with Israel given the political situation? Well, according to the report that I spoke with you about a couple of weeks ago, they have a 95% agreement with the US now without Israel, in exchange for a civil nuclear project and continuing the oil trade with dollar. So the US is very worried with the Saudi, BRICS, China, Russia attempt, because China and Russia are already doing it. They're having their own trade in ruble and the Chinese yuan. And they're worried that it will stretch to Saudi Arabia. And it's not like it's an unrealistic scenario. it can very much happen. And then the value of the dollar will not be the same. That doesn't mean it's going to immediately collapse, because it's linked to many other things. It's linked to how it's viewed, really, and how much people trust it and have faith in it. But it's going to give it a blow if the Saudi government stops trading. So they wanted a confirmation. They wanted a confirmation. And if they are able to do that, then they will continue and give them the civil nuclear project. And apparently that's 95% sorted without an Israeli deal. The Biden administration thought that they might use it as leverage with Israel. Clearly, leverage is not working with Netanyahu. Clearly, leverage is not working with Netanyahu. Not the leverage of withdrawing the aircraft carrier, not the leverage of delays previously in arms, not the leverage of not vetoing, not the leverage of canceling the last shipment, or at least delaying it for a while, to a level where some in Israel are calling Biden a Hamas lover. So they can reach a deal without Israel. But Saudi Arabia is still open to the idea. Kate, is Egypt still giving lip service to that? They going to shred the Camp David? Look, they didn't say they are going to shred it, but they say that it's going to affect it. They don't have much to stand on when they say that, Egypt, because they already, broke so many lines of the treaty. So you have Israelis in the military and intelligence establishment saying that they broke every line. So their existence in Sinai, the level of forces, the armed people, heavy equipment, tunnels. So when they threaten Israel that we're not going to go ahead with the Camp David Accords, Israel will tell them, well, look what you've done. Probably. And look, they don't like each other. They have a peace treaty, but they've never liked each other. And that was the last one from Kate. We'll wrap it there then, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't watched my previous videos, go ahead and watch them afterwards. And I will hopefully be with you tomorrow. I'll have a couple of videos on. If I have I'll most likely have a couple of videos on. And if I have a live stream, I will. So obviously, I'm sorry if I missed anything, by the way, you can come back tomorrow. And you can join me. If I will have a live stream, I will post it on my community tab. Sometimes I post it quite early. Sometimes I post it later on. So stay kind of monitor the channel. Apart from that, thank you so much for everyone who joined in, and have a lovely evening, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Take care.